Do you remember Diana's wedding day? Or maybe your first royal memory was Kate Middleton, now Catherine, Princess of Wales, gliding into Westminster Abbey in her timeless Alexander McQueen gown. And what about Meghan Markle? Modern, minimal, and utterly mesmerizing. But here's the question. What makes a royal wedding dress truly iconic? Are you ready to step inside the glittering world of Britain's best royal wedding dresses and jewels? Let's start with Queen Elizabeth II's Norman Hartnell gown, 1947. On November 20th, 1947, all eyes turned toward Westminster Abbey. It was a royal wedding, a fairy tale breaking through the fog of war. Princess Elizabeth's gown shimmered, an ivory Duchess satin masterpiece, heavy with pearls, rich in symbolism. It's hard to grasp how fragile the world still felt in 1947. Britain was battered, rationing was still in effect, and entire cities bore the scars of bombings. So how do you plan a royal wedding, let alone design a dress at such a time? Inspired by Botticelli's Primavera, Hartnell covered the dress with embroidered garlands of jasmine, lilac, white roses, and orange blossoms, using over 10,000 seed pearls imported from America. The dress features a simple cut with a fitted bodice, a heart-shaped neckline, and a low V-pointed waist, paired with a floor-length paneled skirt. But what's most remarkable is that the future queen had to save up ration coupons for the fabric, just like any other British bride. Can you imagine that? The heir to the throne carefully budgeted coupons to afford silk. A team of over 350 skilled seamstresses, handpicked by Hartnell, worked in complete secrecy for 7 weeks. The dress was locked in a guarded room each night, with blackout curtains drawn, to prevent even a whisper of its design from leaking to the press. Of course, no royal bride walks alone. She's accompanied by tradition, history, and diamonds. For her something borrowed, Elizabeth wore the Queen Mary fringe tiara, crafted in 1919 from a dismantled necklace once worn by Queen Victoria herself. Queen Mary loved fringe tiaras so much, she had several made, but this was her favorite. She gifted it to Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, who then lent it to her daughter, Elizabeth, for her wedding day. With its striking halo of diamond spikes, the tiara was a nod to old royalty, but it almost became a catastrophe. And as legend now demands, the tiara snapped in half mere hours before the ceremony. The central piece broke clean off. In full-blown panic, it was rushed back to Gerard, who performed a last-minute repair under extreme pressure. If you look closely at the official wedding photos, there's a tiny space between two of the spikes, marking the scene of the break. Since then, the tiara has been worn by Princess Anne and Princess Beatrice for their own weddings, keeping the tradition and drama alive. While the tiara took center stage, around Elizabeth's neck was a tender symbol of love, a double-strand pearl necklace, gifted to her by her father, King George VI. These weren't ordinary pearls. The shorter of the two necklaces was the Queen Anne necklace, said to have belonged to Anne, the last Stuart queen. The second pearl necklace is known as the Queen Caroline, and is said to have belonged to the wife of King George II. For Elizabeth, they were a link to her ancestors. Though less discussed, Elizabeth's diamond earrings were dainty yet dazzling. They were believed to be part of a set from her grandmother, Queen Mary, and chosen for their simplicity and sparkle. Hidden beneath the layers of silk and satin was a diamond brooch, a family heirloom said to have once belonged to Queen Victoria, though some historians debate this detail. What is also interesting is that Elizabeth did her own makeup for the wedding. The entire ensemble cost about $12,000 at the time, or roughly $170,000 today, a controversial number in an age when many families were still rebuilding from bomb damage and loss. But that's what made it all the more potent. The wedding dress was carefully preserved in the royal collection, though the fragile nature of the fabric means it can't be displayed often. If this dress hadn't dazzled the world in 1947, would we still remember the wedding at all? So ask yourself, if you were about to become queen, which jewels would you wear? Would you choose glittering diamonds passed down from empire to empire, or something personal, like a father's gift or a grandmother's pin? For centuries, royal brides had dazzled with gowns and glittering heirlooms. But in 1981, a shy 20-year-old bride rewrote the script, and her entrance left the world gasping. Princess Diana's Emmanuel gown, 1981. On July 29, 1981, as church bells rang across London and television screens flickered in over 70 countries, 20-year-old Lady Diana Spencer stepped out of the glass carriage in front of St. Paul's Cathedral. The world had watched royal weddings before, but never like this. And it all began with a dress. Diana's train, made from ivory silk taffeta, measured a staggering 25 feet, the longest in British royal history. And that's still true today. The puffed-sleeved, the frilled collars, the hand embroidery, and 10,000 pearls that shimmered like dew under cathedral light. Designer Elizabeth Emanuel recalled, she wanted to look like a princess. And she did. But few know this. Diana had to squeeze into the carriage, and the dress, despite meticulous planning, got creased and crumpled in transit. Sewn into the waistband was a tiny blue bow, for luck and something blue, as well as a gold horseshoe for good fortune. A secret no one could see, but one that speaks volume about Diana's hopes. And then there was the lace, Carrick-Macross lace, originally belonging to Queen Mary, the grandmother of Queen Elizabeth II, and connecting Diana to past queens, even as she became a future one. Now let's talk about sparkle. Diana did not wear a royal tiara loaned from the Queen. Instead, she wore the Spencer tiara, a dazzling heirloom passed down from her own aristocratic family. It featured a scrolling floral design set with diamonds and had crowned multiple Spencer brides before her. Crafted from an elegant combination of diamonds set in silver and gold, the tiara had graced the heads of Diana's mother and sisters on their own wedding days. Why did she choose it? Maybe it was comfort. The Queen's tiaras were heavier. Maybe it was sentiment. Diana had always been proud of her roots. The tiara glittered, the cameras flashed, and history was about to be made. But then came a small, very personal moment that showed the world Diana wasn't just a princess. She was real. One of the most relatable moments of the day came before Diana even stepped out of the carriage. In her nervousness, she accidentally spilled her favorite perfume, Kelka Flor, on the front of the dress. The scent was floral, classic, and feminine. And the stain? It never made headlines that day because Diana simply held the fabric in a way that covered it. If the dress carried an invisible memory, her accessories carried visible symbolism. Diana's earrings were just as meaningful. Diamond drops that belonged to her family, the Spencers. They were elegant and understated, not oversized chandeliers or ostentatious heirlooms. Curiously, Diana wore no necklace on her wedding day, a surprising omission for a royal bride. But there's a clever logic behind it. With the high frilled collar of her gown and ornate Spencer tiara above, a necklace might have made the look too heavy, too cluttered. Instead, the absence allowed the focus to remain on her face, framed perfectly by the tiara and veil. Today, Diana's wedding ensemble, dress, veil, jewels, is displayed at exhibitions and studied by fashion historians. But for many, it lives on in memory, not museums. And interestingly, the Spencer tiara has never been worn by another royal bride. It remains in the Spencer family, its legend untouched. Perhaps waiting for Diana's granddaughter to one day revive it? Let's not forget the power of fashion to reflect culture. Diana's gown, with its 1980s opulence, layers of taffeta, cathedral-length veil, and frothy femininity, wasn't just romantic, it was timely. Would this dress have worked in 2025? Probably not. But in 1981, it was perfection. The cost of the wedding was later estimated to be $48 million in total, between $70 million and $110 million when adjusted for inflation, with $600,000 being spent on security. An estimated 750 million people watched the ceremony worldwide, and this figure allegedly rose to $1 billion when the radio audience is added in. For many, Memories of Diana's wedding lingered even as the world prepared for another historic day. In 2011, her eldest son stood at the altar, awaiting his bride. Catherine, Princess of Wales, Alexander McQueen dress, 2011. The wedding of Prince William and Catherine Middleton took place on 29th of April 2011 at Westminster Abbey in London. Crowds lined the mall, helicopters hovered in London skies, and over 300 million people tuned in from their sofas and smartphones around the world. Then, the moment. The car door opened. Out stepped Catherine Middleton, soon to be Princess of Wales, in a gown that would become instantly iconic. Catherine's wedding gown was the result of intense secrecy, whispered speculation, and months of quiet collaboration between the future queen and designer Sarah Burton, the creative director of the fashion house Alexander McQueen. Why McQueen? The brand is known for theatrical edge and bold British tailoring. Hardly the obvious choice for a royal bride. Catherine's dress cost an estimated £250,000, approximately $415,000 in 2011, though the palace never confirmed it. The silhouette? A deep V neckline, narrow waist, and full skirt, with a structure inspired by Victorian corsetry. The dramatic train measured 2.7 meters, just under 9 feet, shorter than Diana's 25-foot extravaganza, but perfectly proportioned to glide down the ancient stones of Westminster Abbey. For the customary bridal themes of something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue, Middleton's gown and veil had lace appointments. The old. She was given custom-made diamond earrings by her parents, the new, and the Queen's tiara, the borrowed, and a blue ribbon was sewn into the bodice, the blue. Now, let's look up at the tiara. Catherine didn't choose one of the towering fortress-like diadems from the royal vault. No Queen Mary's fringe or the massive Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara. Instead, she wore the Cartier Halo tiara, a dainty piece made in 1936, the same year Edward VIII abdicated and George VI unexpectedly became king. It was initially a gift from King George VI to his wife Elizabeth, later the Queen Mother, who then gave it to their daughter, Princess Elizabeth, on her 18th birthday. It had never been worn publicly by Queen Elizabeth II, until she loaned it to Catherine. A gesture of trust. A passing of something intimate. 739 brilliant cut diamonds, 149 baguette-cut diamonds, scroll-shaped design in platinum. Just refined elegance. Her earrings weren't royal heirlooms, but they told a story too. Commissioned by her parents, Michael and Carol Middleton, and crafted by Robinson Pelham, the earrings were a wedding gift to their daughter. Inspired by the acorn and oak leaves from the Middleton family crest, they symbolized strength, endurance, and growth. Again, Catherine wasn't just marrying into royalty. She was bringing her own roots with her. Do you remember her veil? Made of layers of soft ivory silk tulle, edged with hand-embroidered flowers. Her shoes were hand-embroidered by the same team that made the lace bodice. Yes, even her feet wore fine art. The royal family and the Middletons covered the costs of the wedding itself, while Her Majesty's Treasury covered the expenses of security and transportation. The overall cost of the event was estimated to have been £23.7 million, 39 million USD at the time. While the grandeur of that event was measured in millions, the focus soon shifted from numbers to design. Just 7 years later, another royal bride would captivate the world in her own unique way. Meghan Markle's Givenchy gown, 2018. On May 19, 2018, the world turned its gaze toward St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle. Meghan Markle stepped out of the vintage Rolls-Royce. At first glance, her wedding dress might seem simple. Deceptively simple. But take a closer look and you'll realize it was a masterpiece of craftsmanship. Created by Claire Waite Keller, the first female artistic director at Givenchy, this gown made history before Meghan even stepped down the aisle. The gown was made of pure white double-bonded silk caddy, The lines were clean, architectural, and geometric. There was no lace, no sparkle, no embroidery on the dress itself, but that was intentional. Now let's talk about that veil, handmade from silk tulle at 16.5 feet long. And let's not forget the crown jewel, literally. Meghan wore Queen Mary's diamond bandeau tiara, loaned to her by Queen Elizabeth II. The piece dates back to 1932, but its centerpiece, a diamond floral brooch, was crafted in 1893. The tiara is crafted from pure platinum, set with brilliant cut and baguette diamonds, a shimmering diadem of royal heritage. Unlike the dramatic Cambridge lover's knot worn by Princess Diana, or the floral Cartier halo worn by Kate Middleton, Meghan's tiara was quiet. The rest of Meghan's bridal jewelry followed suit. Nothing ostentatious, just whispers of sparkle. Cartier diamond stud earrings, Galanterie de Cartier collection, a delicate diamond bracelet also by Cartier. These pieces didn't try to compete with the tiara or the veil. The dress cost an estimated £110,000, around $135,000, according to the British press. The royal family covered the core costs of the wedding. The earrings, round, brilliant cut diamonds set in white gold. Small, symmetrical, and so discreet you might miss them unless you're looking closely. A flexible line bracelet made of round diamonds in a white gold setting. It was elegant, clean, and contemporary. At the altar, Meghan received a classic Welsh gold wedding band, following a royal tradition that began in 1923 with the Queen Mother. Many British royal brides have since worn a wedding band made from the same Welsh gold nugget, so rare that the supply is nearly exhausted. For the sacred symbolism of her golden wedding band, Meghan shifted into something altogether modern and chic. Her second gown, a sleek halter-neck silk crepe gown by Stella McCartney, for the evening reception. This dress was pure Bond girl meets royal elegance. Would you have chosen a dress so simple for the most watched wedding in the world? Royal weddings often serve as mirrors of their times. Meghan's sleek gown reflected the 21st century. But in 1960, the world turned its gaze to another royal bride whose gown told a very different story. Princess Margaret's Dior gown, 1960. On May 6, 1960, Westminster Abbey stood still. Princess Margaret, the younger sister of Queen Elizabeth II, arrived to marry Anthony Armstrong Jones, a commoner and society photographer. She wore silk and diamonds. Her wedding gown was designed by Norman Hartnell, the man behind Queen Elizabeth II's coronation robes and wedding gown. And yet for Margaret, he created something entirely different. Of all the dresses I designed for royalty, Hartnell once said, this was the simplest. It was made from white silk organza, floaty yet structured, tailored with precision to flatter her petite figure. The design was classic. A fitted bodice, a cinched waist, and a full skirt that seemed to float like a cloud behind her. No lace, no embroidery, no pearls. Was it influenced by Dior? Absolutely. She met Dior himself in Paris and often wore his designs for society events. While her wedding gown wasn't officially a Dior piece, its minimalist yet dramatic silhouette was undeniably influenced by the French designer's philosophy. And yet, no royal look is complete without jewels. Forget borrowing from the royal vault. Margaret bought her own tiara, crafted by Gerard & Company in the 1870s for Lady Poltimore. The tiara is made of silver and gold, set with large old-cut diamonds in floral clusters. When Margaret bought it at auction in 1959 for £5,500, about $15,400 US, she was making a clear statement. I wear what I choose. It's convertible. The tiara can be taken apart into a necklace and 11 separate brooches. In fact, Margaret often wore pieces of it during high-profile events in the 1960s. After her death, the tiara went under the hammer at Christie's in 2006. The bidding was fierce, a testament to its legendary status, and it ultimately sold for £926,400, more than $1.7 million USD at the time. Some say it now belongs to a Middle Eastern royal family. Others whisper of a private collector who never wears it, simply keeps it under glass. Around Margaret's neck on her wedding day was a classic diamond collet necklace. While no official record confirms its exact provenance, it is widely believed to have originated from Queen Mary's collection, which was later passed down to Margaret by her mother, Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother. Some royal watchers suggest it may even have been a wedding gift from the Queen Mother herself, a symbol of maternal approval for a daughter who often pushed boundaries. Princess Margaret's wedding was the first royal wedding to be broadcast on television, drawing an audience of over 20 million people worldwide. For many, it was the first time they'd seen a royal ceremony live. Years later, those very jewels would become the subject of debate. After her death in 2002, Princess Margaret's children sold many of her personal jewels to cover estate taxes. The sale was controversial. Some critics lamented the loss of royal heritage to private hands. But if the jewels of one generation were scattered, the gowns of another remained etched in memory. Just a decade later, the world would watch as Princess Anne stunned with a wedding dress that defied expectations. Princess Anne's Tudor-style dress, 1973. On the frosted morning of November 14, 1973, as the chimes of Westminster Abbey echoed through the London air, a royal bride stepped into history. Princess Anne, the only daughter of Queen Elizabeth II, arrived not in lace, frills, or rhinestones, but in a gown so bold, so unapologetically structured, that it looked like it had been lifted straight from the courts of Henry VIII. Her dress, designed by Maureen Baker of Susan Small, was crafted from ivory silk file. The cut was stark and sculptural. A high collar, long trumpet sleeves, slim waist, and a full skirt. There was no excessive embroidery, no lace, no sparkle. Anne didn't want to look like a princess from a fairy tale. She wanted to look like royalty with an edge, a warrior bride rooted in English history. Now, let's talk about the dazzling crown jewel, literally. At the center of her bridal ensemble was the Queen Mary fringe tiara, a glittering piece with a story as sharp and spectacular as its diamond spikes. It had already graced Queen Elizabeth's head on her wedding day in 1947, and would later crown Princess Beatrice in 2020. But for Anne, it added gravitas and glitter to her sleek look. But here's a little-known nugget. Anne almost didn't wear that tiara. Early reports suggested she considered the meander tiara, a Greek key design that once belonged to her grandmother, Princess Alice of Battenberg, Prince Philip's mother. On her ears, a pair of simple diamond studs, believed to be a gift from her parents, Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip. She skipped the necklace and extravagant earrings, but in doing so, made every sparkle more intentional. Though the dress may have felt medieval, the setting was thoroughly modern. The ceremony was broadcast live on color television, with over 100 million viewers watching worldwide. But Anne's wedding was surprisingly low-key by royal standards. Her future husband, Captain Mark Phillips, refused a peerage, meaning Anne would remain Her Royal Highness the Princess Anne, rather than becoming a duchess. And yet, her look was anything but plain. It's no surprise that Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, and countless royal watchers still call it one of the most underrated royal wedding dresses of all time. From a princess who defied traditions in the 1970s, we fast forward to another royal bride who faced an entirely different challenge. Queen Camilla's wedding outfit, 2005. April 9, 2005, a gray, overcast day in Windsor. There were no golden carriages, no balcony kisses, no roaring crowds waving Union Jacks. After decades of scandal, whispers, and tabloid fury, Camilla Parker Bowles was about to become the wife of the future King of the United Kingdom. Let's not sugarcoat it. This was a royal wedding unlike any before it. Prince Charles and Camilla's relationship had weathered public betrayal, a royal divorce, the tragic death of Diana, and a media storm that lasted over 30 years. Camilla's first outfit was quietly powerful, a coat dress of pale oyster silk basket weave with a soft cream chiffon dress beneath. Designed by Anna Valentine and Antonia Robinson, the outfit conveyed poise. And atop her head, a magnificent wide-brimmed Philip Treacy hat. She wore simple suede L.K. Bennett pumps, another departure from the usual royal sparkle. No Cinderella slippers. Her second outfit was a pale, silvery blue silk chiffon gown, hand-embroidered with gold thread. Over it, a long matching coat, the color of the morning sky just before sunrise. Royal watchers were stunned. No tiara. It was the first time in modern royal history that a senior bride skipped the family jewels. Rumors swirled that a tiara might have seemed too provocative, too queenly for the former mistress turned bride. Some royal insiders have said that Buckingham Palace did not want to stir public sentiment by having Camilla wear a tiara once worn by Princess Diana. Others believe Camilla herself chose not to wear one, aware that this wedding, quiet, civil, intimate, wasn't the place for a sparkling coronet. While Camilla forewent a tiara, she did wear a jewel of immense historical weight, the Prince of Wales feather brooch. The brooch was gifted initially to Princess Alexandra in 1863 as a wedding present from the ladies of North Wales. It later passed through Queen Mary, Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, and was worn on occasion by Princess Diana, most notably in 1981 as a pendant on a necklace. Interestingly, Camilla now has several tiaras at her disposal, many of which have gained prominence in recent years. What do you think of Queen Camilla's wedding day style? Do you think her look helped reshape her image in the public eye? In a family where layers of diamonds, sapphires, and pearls often crowd the necklines of princesses and queens, Camilla's jewel restraint was almost shocking. Her simplicity stood out in a world of royalty built on glitter and spectacle. But what happens when the brightest jewel of them all, the Queen herself, is missing from the picture? Yes, Charles's late mother, Queen Elizabeth II, was noticeably absent from her son's wedding to Camilla. As was reported in the Telegraph, the monarch's absence was in part due to her role as the head of the Church of England, meaning she must uphold the Church's values and discourage divorce. Naturally, attending your divorced son's wedding to the woman he once had an affair with crossed some lines. Later, the Queen and Prince Philip attended the religious blessing afterward at St. George's Chapel and warmly hosted the reception, posing for the family portrait. However, the rest of the immediate royal family all showed up to the big day, including best man William, as well as Harry and Camilla's two children, Tom and Laura Parker Bowles. From Elizabeth II's post-war hartnell gown made with rationed silk to Princess Anne's Tudor-inspired frock, every royal dress tells us more than the headlines ever could. And if you thought this was dazzling, wait until you see the other royal secrets and glittering mysteries we've uncovered. Make sure to stay tuned for our following videos.